Ladies and gentlemen, today we will talk about certification, that of the FSC of the Forest Stewardship Council, a true environmental label for which President Ali Bongo Ondimba wishes that every operator from the forest industry be certified by 2022. In support of this decision, the FSC label just signed today, January 31st, 2020, a convention with the Gabon state. On our stage, we talk about it. We receive Kojwang, Regional Director for Africa at the FSC. Mr. Kojwang, welcome to Gabon 24.
Thank you very much indeed.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's go straight to the point. In concrete terms, what is the added value of FSC today compared to other kind of certification?
Well, FSC is very strongly steeped in its mission to encourage the responsible management of forests. And it stresses the social aspects of forest management, in addition to the economic and the environmental. I don't think any other standard stresses the social aspects as much as the FSC certification standard. And I think that's where it adds value, and it also does not ignore the economic imperatives around which forest resources are managed. So it looks at both the social and the environmental and the economic. And the way it balances the three, in my opinion, is what distinguishes it from the other standards. If you look at the details of how that is done, you'll find that the FSC goes a mile further and respects national laws, respects also human rights issues, especially the local people who live in the forests and are often quite poor. So it takes care of the interests of those who are not fortunate enough in society and live deep in the forests. So I think as an African, that resonates a lot with me personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
But can you tell us, please, for any actor in the wood industry, because our country, Gabon, has a lot of wood, a big forest, so we have many actors in that sector. What is the procedure for obtaining the FSC certification?
Well, first of all, there has to be an interest in a company, and often this is motivated by markets which are increasingly conscious of sustainability issues. And they would like to make sure that what they consume in the form of forest products is from responsibly managed sources. So this is a market factor. Now, in Gabon, you have an added advantage that there's government policy that is also pushing for responsible forest management. So I think what then happens after that is that a company then has to go through a process where there's an initial assessment done. Once they show an interest in certification, and in this country, it is mandatory by 2022, which is really good for sustainability. And then on the basis of that, they are given some recommendations on what sort of measures they can put in place to address some of the weaknesses in their management systems. And then another assessment is done where they are given what you call corrective action measures. And then on the basis of that, there's a final assessment where they are now given a certificate if they correct some of the weaknesses in their management systems. And remember, the forest management systems they use has to be assessed on the basis of social responsibility, the social issues, labor, wages, fair wages, and they pay their taxes, the legal aspects. They have records of their production, and what goes to the government, which is fair to the government, is given, and so on and so forth. And also the environmental aspects, whether they respect areas of high conservation value. Gabon already is very, very conscious of its responsibility, both as a nation on its own, and also a nation in the world and in the Congo Basin to conserve biodiversity. So all those aspects are looked at before a certificate is issued.
Yeah. You signed today an agreement with the Gabon state. What is the long-term objective and the points or areas covered by this cooperation agreement?
Well, the cooperation agreement, first and foremost, says that the two parties that signed the agreement, your host, the government, and FSC, believe in the principles and practices of responsible forest management. And to uphold these principles in practice, the agreement says that we are going to work together to support the government to realize the objectives of its policy for mandatory certification by 2022. And so basically it's a question of technical assistance that we can give as FSC to work with forest concession holders, to lead them or to work with them towards a status of certification. And therefore, that agreement, in a nutshell, gives us recognition and invite us officially to work with the government instruments, work with the private sector, work with any society which is legitimately in this country to achieve the objectives of responsible forest management, which is very much in line with the government's policy.
But is the FSC certification available for everyone? In your strategy, is the small operators in the forest industry, are they taken into account?
Yes, they are. In fact, right now, FSC has been developing something called, first of all, they've got a smallholder standard, a standard that is applicable to smallholder. I know for a fact that the international board of FSC is extremely keen to see smallholders play their rightful role in the certification process and benefit from certification. There's also another procedure called continuous improvement, where small communities or communities who do not have all the resources to go for full-scale certification can be taken through the steps, bit by bit, so that they meet certain minimum criteria for certification, only some of them, and then they are allowed to continue until they meet the criteria, maybe 1-2 years down the line, until they achieve full certification status. This process was created in recognition of the fact that we want the rural communities and smallholders to benefit in the certification agenda.
As an FSC expert, where can we place Gabon today on the scale of the African continent in terms of environmental responsibility and sustainable forest management?
I would rate Gabon very, very high. In fact, right now, as we speak, Gabon is providing some very unique leadership in the forest sector.
So the leadership is a big factor for that.
Yes. And I will say this. I've been in forestry practice since the late 70s. I've been in the forest sector for the last almost 40 years.
40 years now.
And one of my biggest worries in Africa is that our countries have not been deriving the rightful benefits from the forest sector that they ought to derive. So Gabon has done three things, which are laudable in this respect. There was the ban on export of round logs.
The first tape.
Yeah, some 2014 or some time back there. And in addition to that, Gabon facilitated the development of a special economic zone to add value in the country to the forest resources instead of exporting round logs. Thirdly, Gabon has developed and announced this policy for certification by 2022. As a country, and as an African, not just an FSC officer, as an African, that makes me very proud. Because I feel that the forest is probably the only country other than South Africa with a viable forest industry that is creating that. I've always been citing South Africa as an example. And in terms of the tropical forest-rich areas in the Congo Basin, I think Gabon is now the natural leader, and it's something that is generating a lot of interest in the professional circles. So I would like to say that what has happened here is not insignificant. It's very, very significant.
Talking about economic results. When a country signs such an agreement with the FSC, what can be the expectations, the economic expectations of that country, kind of in terms of economic returns? Can you tell us about this?
The FSC label itself, if it is implemented, means that Gabon can expect a steady market for its goods. But beneath that, Gabon has to create a brand of sustainability on its products. So the FSC certification enables Gabon to claim a higher level of credibility for its product beyond legality. Right now, a lot of countries are struggling with the concept of legality. Something is legal, therefore you can buy it. But being legal and being socially sustainable are different things. So I think...
So with a certification, we can sell more products.
You can sell more and you can have can have a lot more credibility. And let's assume that you have concession holders. You have companies, big companies, which are concession holders. Often they want to go to the bank to borrow money, to invest in technology, or to create a plantation, or whatever they want to do. Now, the stamp of sustainability through an FSC system gives them that credibility that they can use to access capital. So these are some of the hidden advantages, which are not very obvious, but this is very important. I'll give you an example. Uganda wants to certify some national parks. And the reason why they're doing it is because they want those parks to have a good name. And when they have a good name,
to attract people.
Attract tourists, yeah.
So in the tourist sector also, we can benefit from that.
Yes, you can.
We are now at the end of our program. I want to thank you for coming. And we hope that this FSC certification will bring to our country and to the world in general, because the Congo Basin forest is very important for the world, a lot of return, economic and many other things. So thank you. And we are hoping to see you again on our set.
My pleasure, and it was a privilege to be here, and I'll be quite happy to come back and visit and see the progress in your country. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for following us. We have reached the end of our programs. Our show is still available on YouTube, Facebook Live, and also on Twitter. Just keep watching Gabon 24 and see you very soon. Goodbye.